On December 15, 2022, Deanna Kojokari walks into the administrative office of Bailey Middle School in Cornelius, North Carolina. She sits under the fluorescent lights for a mandatory truancy meeting because her 11-year-old daughter, Medina, has not attended classes in weeks. A school counselor and a local school resource officer sit across the table. Leaning forward to ask a routine question regarding the whereabouts of the child, Diana maintains a calm demeanor, looks at the authorities, and states she has not seen Medina since November 23rd. The officers crease, instantly recognizing that a mother allowed 22 days to pass without making a single phone call to law enforcement. Diana attempts to justify this vast gap of time by claiming a crippling fear of the reaction of her husband. This chilling admission shatters the quiet morning and immediately triggers one of the most perplexing missing child investigations in the history of the state. Cornelius, North Carolina, rests along the sprawling shores of Lake Norman, functioning as an affluent lakeside haven situated just north of Charlotte. The geography of the town features deep coves, dense clusters of tall Carolina pines, and miles of meandering waterfront properties. Residents navigate through a network of pristine subdivisions connected by wide tree-lined thoroughfares. The local economy thrives on a blend of waterfront commerce and suburban tranquility, drawing families who seek a secure environment away from the noise of the major city. Sodium streetlights cast a warm glow over manicured lawns during the evening hours. Driveways feature basketball hoops, and sidewalks offer safe passage for evening joggers and dog walkers. The community prides itself on vigilance and neighborly connection, operating under the assumption that an invisible net of safety covers their streets. Crime here amounts to minor property disputes or traffic infractions. Tragedies or vanishing residents seem like distant anomalies reserved for the evening news broadcasts. This tranquil facade provides a stark contrast to the dark realities festering behind closed doors. The town projects an image of an idyllic sanctuary, setting the stage for a profound betrayal of the local trust. The Victoria Bay neighborhood stands as a prime example of this Cornelius suburban ideal, featuring a looping layout of brick-accented homes. The Kojokari residence sits tucked within this maze of uniform architecture, presenting a well-kept exterior with sculpted bushes and a welcoming front porch. The physical distance between the houses is minimal, ensuring that neighbors possess a clear line of sight into the yards of their peers. Living in such close proximity guarantees that any significant disturbance draws immediate attention from the surrounding households. Mail carriers walk their daily routes on a strict schedule, and delivery trucks navigate the cul-de-sacs from morning until dusk. The physical layout of the neighborhood should make it nearly impossible for anyone to disappear without leaving a trail of witnesses. Large windows grace the fronts of the houses designed to let in the bright Carolina sunshine. Children gather in the adjacent cul-de-sacs, drawing chalk murals on the pavement and riding bicycles after school. The Kojokari home blended into this vibrant community fabric. Nothing about the peeling paint on the mailbox or the placement of the garden hose suggested any underlying chaos. The structure maintained the outward illusion of a secure childhood environment. Within this home lived Madalina Kojokari, a bright, energetic 11-year-old girl entering the crucial developmental stage of the 6th grade. She possessed a distinct, memorable appearance, wearing her dark hair in neat, intricate braids. Madina held a deep affection for animals, harboring a specific and enduring love for horses. At Bailey Middle School, she built a reputation as a diligent student who navigated the bustling hallways with quiet but undeniable grace. Teachers noted her academic dedication, and peers recognized her as a loyal companion during lunch hours and recess. Her daily routine involved waiting at the neighborhood bus stop, carrying a heavy backpack filled with textbooks and assignments. Neighbors observed her playing in the front yard, a solitary figure finding joy in the simple pleasures of the outdoors. She represented the quintessential suburban child, full of potential and reliant upon the adults entrusted with her care. Madina harbored dreams for the future, sketching pictures of equines and engaging in the imaginative play typical of her age group. Her entire existence depended on the stability of her guardians, making her uniquely vulnerable to their choices. She walked through her daily life unaware of the looming shadow gathering within her own home. Behind the locked front door of the Victoria Bay residence, the household dynamic painted a grim picture of domestic instability. Diana Kojokari, a Moldovan immigrant, managed the daily operations of the home while navigating a deteriorating marriage. Christopher Malmeter, her American husband and the stepfather to Madina, shared the living space but contributed to a profound atmosphere of distrust. The architectural layout of the home forced the three occupants into close quarters, exacerbating the friction between the adults. The relationship between Diana and Christopher suffered from severe strain, leading to frequent arguments that darkened the atmosphere of the house. Verbal hostility echoed off the walls of the living room, replacing the sounds of familial warmth with harsh accusations. A palpable tension settled over the dining table, turning routine meals into silent, uncomfortable events. This toxic environment created a landscape of emotional dread for the 11-year-old girl caught in the middle. Despite the growing instability between her primary caretakers, Madina compartmentalized the chaos and maintained her focus on her schoolwork. She absorbed the stress of her environment in silence, trapped within a physical space controlled entirely by warring adults. The failure of her guardians to shield her from their personal animosity laid the groundwork for the ultimate tragedy. The timeline of the unraveling begins on the brisk afternoon of November 21, 2022. Bailey Middle School concludes its academic day, and the fleet of yellow school buses departs from the loading zone. The route winds through the arterial roads of Cornelius, turning into the quiet streets of the Victoria Bay subdivision. A security camera mounted inside the vehicle captures the last confirmed public sighting of Madina Kojokari. The video footage shows the 11-year-old girl stepping down the ribbed metal stairs of the bus. She wears a plain white shirt and a dark backpack, her signature braid swaying as she exits the vehicle. The heavy bifold doors swing shut behind her, and the bus engine roars as it pulls away from the curb. Madina walks down the paved suburban sidewalk, tracing the familiar path toward her front door. The afternoon sun casts long shadows across the driveways as she traverses the short distance to her house. She turns the doorknob, crosses the threshold, and the heavy metallic click of the lock secures the entrance. At this exact moment, she transitions from the safety of public visibility into an unseen, isolated world. 2 days later, on the evening of November 23, 2022, the pressure inside the Kojokari residence reaches a critical breaking point. According to the statements provided to law enforcement by Diana, a fierce dispute erupts between the husband and wife. The exact spatial reality of the argument centers in the main living areas, filling the home with aggressive vocal exchanges. The confrontation shatters any remaining facade of domestic partnership, prompting an abrupt physical separation. Christopher Pallater retreats to the bedrooms, packing his personal belongings into travel bags. He carries his luggage through the front door, crosses the driveway, and loads his vehicle under the glow of the streetlights. The car engine turns over, breaking the quiet of the neighborhood evening. He shifts into gear and drives away from the property, embarking on a long journey toward his family in the state of Michigan. The departure creates a vast geographical distance between the stepfather and the house in North Carolina. Diana remains inside the residence left to navigate the aftermath of the severe domestic fracture. The atmosphere inside the home transitions from explosive anger to a heavy, suffocating stillness. As the night progresses, Diana walks down the carpeted hallway toward the bedroom belonging to her daughter. She turns the handle, pushes the door open and steps into the personal space of the 11-year-old girl. The bed is empty, and a rapid visual scan reveals that Medina has vanished from the premises. A closer inspection of the closet and floor space indicates that a backpack and a few articles of clothing are also missing. Confronted with a dark, empty room and a missing child, a guardian faces an immediate instinctual mandate to seek help. Instead of rushing to the telephone to dial 911, Diana makes a calculated decision. She does not cross the lawn to pound on the doors of her neighbors for assistance. She does not run into the street shouting for help under the sodium lights. She chooses absolute, deliberate silence, locking the house down while her daughter remains missing in the cold November night. The hours tick by, turning into a full day, yet the telephone receiver remains untouched in its cradle. This conscious refusal to act transforms a missing person scenario into an active, sprawling concealment. For 3 agonizing weeks, the Kojokari residence maintains a veneer of absolute normalcy while harboring a terrifying secret. The Thanksgiving holiday passes, and the calendar turns to the month of December. Yet Diana says nothing to anyone. The physical desk assigned to Medina at Bailey Middle School remains empty day after day. Automated attendance calls from the school system ring out into the house, generating a digital record of the mounting absences. The Educational Administration watches the unexcused days pile up, following strict protocols regarding student welfare. Bureaucratic machinery engages, prompting school officials to schedule a formal mandatory truancy intervention to address the unexplained gap. This administrative action finally forces the issue, compelling Diana to leave the house and face figures of authority. The timeline of silence stretches precisely 22 days, a massive void in which crucial forensic evidence degrades and geographical leads vanish. During this expansive window, an 11-year-old child remains unaccounted for, while the adults responsible for her safety carry on with their daily routines. The convergence of the school protocol and the hidden truth of the mother sets the stage for a catastrophic revelation. The December 15 meeting arrives, bringing an abrupt and devastating end to the veil of silence. The December 15 revelation transforms the Cornelius Police Department headquarters into a frantic hub of tactical operations. Detectives mobilize alongside special agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the State Bureau of Investigation to form a unified task force. The investigative timeline forces agents to work backward through a massive 22-day void of missing evidence. Command staff divide the suburban map into grid squares, assigning search teams to canvass the neighborhood and the dark waters of Lake Norman. Dive teams plunge into the Krigid Coves near the subdivision, sweeping the murky lake bed using advanced sonar equipment. While patrol units scour the physical landscape, primary investigators isolate Diana Kojokari and Christopher Moblitter in separate interrogation rooms. The architectural layout of the precinct places the husband and wife in sterile, windowless rooms equipped with audio recording devices. Detectives press the adults for a coherent timeline, demanding a logical explanation for their prolonged silence. Instead of providing actionable leads, both guardians offer bizarre rationalizations and stonewall the line of questioning. Christopher insists he believed Diana hid the child away during their argument, while Diana repeats her claim of paralyzing fear. The shifting narratives create a severe psychological and investigative hurdle for the agents sitting across the metal tables. Investigators recognize that the individuals holding the key to the mystery are choosing self-preservation over the recovery of a missing 6th grader. The physical layout of the Victoria Bay property becomes the primary focal point for forensic technicians seeking tangible clues. The backyard of the Kojokari residence features a small, enclosed patch of grass bordered by wooden privacy fences. A shallow fire pit sits within this confined space, positioned mere yards away from the back doors of neighboring homes. During neighborhood canvassing, investigators secure a chilling piece of witness testimony regarding the days following the disappearance. Neighbors recount seeing a steady plume of smoke rising from the Kojokari backyard, noting that a fire burned for several days. The timeline of this fire aligns with the exact window when Medina vanished from her bedroom. Crime scene investigators descend upon the backyard, securing the perimeter with yellow tape to preserve the contaminated zone. Specialists in hazardous materials don protective suits and approach the ash pit with sifters and collection vials. They needle on the cold ground, filtering through charred wood and debris in search of microscopic trace evidence. The systematic excavation of the fire pit forces the neighborhood to confront the terrifying implications of a backyard burn site. Every scoop of ash undergoes intense chemical analysis at the State Crime Laboratory in Raleigh. Despite the grim nature of the discovery, the physical remnants fail to produce the definitive biological markers required to close the case. Desperate to break the stalemate, law enforcement authorities pivot their strategy and appeal directly to the public for geographical leads. The task force releases surveillance images of a distinct vehicle belonging to Diana, asking citizens to report any sightings from late November. The tip line rings, providing a singular promising lead that directs search teams toward the towering peaks of Mount Mitchell. Mount Mitchell stands as the highest peak in the Appalachian Mountains, featuring dense pine forests, deep ravines, and unforgiving rocky terrain. The sheer scale of the wilderness presents an overwhelming logistical nightmare for search and rescue coordinators. Fleets of all-terrain vehicles and tactical units navigate the winding mountain roads, deploying into the freezing woodland environments. Trackers utilize grid search methodologies, walking shoulder to shoulder through heavy brush and thick winter fog. Helicopters equipped with thermal imaging cameras circle above the canopy, scanning the forest floor for any heat signatures. The search operation consumes massive amounts of state resources and thousands of man-hours across the rural landscape. Law enforcement officers push through exhaustion, driven by the hope of recovering the missing 11-year-old girl. Despite this monumental physical effort, the rugged terrain yields no trace of Medina or the vehicle in question. The Mount Mitchell expedition registers as a devastating investigative dead end, forcing the task force back to square one. Faced with a lack of physical leads, federal agents shift their focus toward the invisible digital footprint left behind by the suspects. Detectives draft extensive search warrants for cellular providers, demanding access to the location data and messaging histories of the parents. When a judge unseals these documents in 2023, the resulting records shatter the original timeline provided by Diana. Telemetry data proves that on December 2nd, well after the reported disappearance, Diana sent a text message stating she was in the presence of Madalena. 2 days later, on December 4th, digital pings track the mother driving toward the Blue Ridge Mountains under the pretense of searching for the child. The most staggering piece of evidence emerges from a localized security camera located in the resort town of Sugar Mountain. Surveillance footage dated December 16 captures the visual forms of a grown man and a young girl walking through the frame. Federal analysts examine the pixelated images and determine the child is physically consistent with the missing 11-year-old. The man walking beside the child matches the physical description of Octavian Sebanu, the only known blood relative of Medina residing in the United States. This stunning revelation introduces a massive new variable, suggesting an organized network of concealment rather than a localized suburban tragedy. Agents scramble to trace the movements of Octavian Sebanu, tracking border crossings and financial transactions across state lines. The digital web exposes a calculated effort to manipulate law enforcement, proving that the Guardians orchestrated a complex game of deception. The mounting pile of digital contradictions and the undeniable fact of the prolonged silence forced the hands of the local prosecutors. In late December, Heavily armed tactical units returned to the quiet streets of the Victoria Bay neighborhood to execute arrest warrants. Officers placed both Diana Kojokari and Christopher Malmeter in steel handcuffs, leading them out of the house and into the back of patrol cruisers. The state charges both adults with the severe felony of failing to report the disappearance of a child to law enforcement. With the primary suspects removed from the premises, the crime scene unit initiates a destructive structural search of the Cornelius home. The pristine suburban facade crumbles as forensic carpenters enter the residence and physically tear up the wooden floorboards. Technicians wheel ground-penetrating radar units through the living room and hallways, scanning the foundation for hidden cavities. Specialized canine units trained in human scent detection sweep every inch of the torn-up subflooring and the surrounding drywall. Digital forensics experts seize dozens of electronic devices, packaging, laptops, cellular phones, and storage drives into static-proof evidence bags. Detectives cart boxes of routers and physical documents out the front door, leaving the interior of the house in ruins. Analysts at the Federal Cyber Laboratory work around the clock, attempting to extract deleted location pings from the confiscated hard drives. Despite the unprecedented deployment of technology and the physical dismantling of the home, the exact location of Medina remains a devastating mystery. The winter months melt into spring, and the calendar years begin to stack upon one another without a single confirmed sighting of the vanished child. The horrific reality settles over the federal task force that the absolute barrier to finding Madaldina is the calculated silence maintained by her own mother and stepfather. The sprawling search operations exhaust every physical lead, pushing the battleground from the rugged mountain wilderness into the rigid halls of the Mecklenburg County Courthouse. This courthouse stands as a towering structure of glass and concrete in downtown Charlotte, housing dozens of courtrooms and secure holding cells. Inside the designated courtroom, rows of heavy oak benches face a raised mahogany desk where the presiding judge oversees the criminal proceedings. The case reaches a critical legal boiling point when the trial of Christopher Malmeter commences before a selected panel of local jurors. The legal defense team constructs a theory designed to shift all culpability away from the stepfather and place the blame directly onto the shoulders of Diana Kojokari. Defense attorneys present a narrative claiming Christopher operated under the genuine belief that his wife had transported the girl to a secret location. The defense argues that the explosive argument in November prompted the mother to hide the child to protect her from the escalating domestic tension. This theory requires the jury to accept the premise that a legal guardian could remain oblivious to the absence of a child inside his own small residence. The spatial layout of the courtroom directs all attention toward the witness stand, where the exact chronological timeline of the Michigan trip faces intense scrutiny. The defense leans on the vast physical distance of that journey to isolate Christopher from the dark events unfolding in the North Carolina home. The prosecution team steps up to the wooden podium and dismantles this strategy of deliberate ignorance. State attorneys present the jury with the stark unbending mandate of parental duty required by the laws of North Carolina. The prosecutors emphasize that neither adult took a single basic step to verify the physical safety of the child for a period spanning nearly one entire month. They walk the jurors through the floor plan of the Cornelius home, highlighting the short proximity between the master bedroom and the room of the child. The state argues that Christopher returned from his trip to Michigan, walked past the bedroom door of his stepdaughter, and chose not to turn the handle. He ignored the silence echoing through the house and failed to inquire about the vacant seat at the dining room table. The prosecution highlights the infuriating reality that both guardians ignored massive glaring red flags out of a desire for self-preservation. Law enforcement officials sitting in the gallery watch as the state exposes the complete abdication of responsibility by the individuals bound by law to protect the vulnerable girl. The trial exposes the rigid protocols of the educational system, detailing exactly how the administrative machinery required 22 days of unexcused absences before triggering a mandatory truancy intervention. The parents weaponized this specific bureaucratic delay, using the slow pace of the school district protocols to buy time and destroy potential evidence. The jurors absorbed the heavy weight of the evidence, recognizing that the inaction of the stepfather provided the essential cover needed to conceal the disappearance. The destruction of the defense alibi paints a devastating portrait of a household consumed by deception and profound neglect. The ultimate climax of the legal proceedings arrives in May of the year 2024. The atmosphere inside the Mecklenburg County Courthouse crackles with anticipation as Diana Kojokari enters the room through the secure side doors. She takes her seat beside her defense attorneys at the heavy wooden table facing the judge and the gallery. In a sudden and unexpected maneuver, the mother changes her legal strategy and alters her plea before the court. Diana stands before the microphone and pleads guilty to the felony charge of failing to report a missing child to law enforcement. Her voice echoes through the cavernous courtroom, delivering a chilling admission of guilt to the assembled public and the watchful detectives. The presiding judge reviews the complex plea agreement, ensuring the defendant understands the permanent consequences of her declaration. He strikes his gavel against the sounding block, accepting the guilty plea and entering the conviction into the permanent public record. This judicial action cements the devastating truth that the very individuals trusted to nurture Medina obstructed the critical early hours of the missing person investigation. The courtroom falls silent as the full weight of the betrayal settles over the observers in the gallery. The calculated obstruction, orchestrated by the mother, transitions from a working police theory into a verified documented fact of law. The acceptance of the guilty plea brings the criminal prosecution to a definitive end. Yet, the victory feels hollow to the investigators standing in the room. The state holds the adults accountable under the law for their negligence, securing felony convictions that carry the weight of the justice system. However, the courtroom proceedings fail to produce the one piece of information the task force needs to close the massive investigation. Neither the conviction of the stepfather nor the guilty plea of the mother yields a geographical location or a map leading to the victim. The perpetrators maintain their iron grip on the central secret, refusing to break their silence regarding the exact whereabouts of the 11-year-old girl. Detectives realize that the legal system possesses the power to punish the cover-up, but it lacks the mechanism to force a confession regarding the underlying event. The closed doors of the Victoria Bay home hide a sequence of events that the court system cannot bring into the light of day. The primary suspects accept their legal penalties while keeping the final horrifying truth buried deep within their own minds. The legal files close on the specific charges of failure to report, leaving the sprawling missing child investigation paralyzed by the absence of a physical body. The ultimate fate of Medina transitions from an active courtroom battle into a haunting, unresolved mystery that continues to plague the state of North Carolina. The sentencing phase exposes an infuriating legal loophole that allows the primary suspects to evade long-term incarceration. For her role in the massive cover-up, Diana Kojokari faces a maximum possible sentence of 24 months in a state correctional facility. The presiding judge reviews her file and notes the extensive time she spent confined in the county jail awaiting her day in court. The records indicate she served exactly 520 days in pretrial custody, a duration that exceeds the maximum penalty permitted by the sentencing guidelines. Bound by the rigid mathematics of the penal code, the judge orders her release from custody the very day after her plea. Christopher Malmater receives a verdict of guilty from the jury for his deliberate failure to report the missing child. The judge hands down a suspended sentence, ordering him to serve 30 months of supervised probation rather than active time inside a prison cell. He must report to a probation officer and maintain strict compliance with the terms of his release to remain free from incarceration. The community watches in disbelief as the two individuals responsible for the concealment of a child walk out of the courthouse doors as free citizens. The application of time served and probation protocols highlights a systemic failure to adequately penalize the horrific act of hiding a missing person. The conclusion of the criminal trial immediately triggers a complex international jurisdiction conflict regarding the immigration status of the mother. Diana resides in the United States as a Moldovan citizen, holding only a permanent resident green card. During the sentencing hearing, the judge issues a stern warning that her felony conviction makes her a prime target for federal deportation proceedings. In September of the year 2024, agents from Homeland Security Investigations confirm a massive shift in her geographical location. Federal authorities announce that Diana has crossed international borders and departed from the United States. The federal government refuses to confirm whether officers executed a formal deportation order or if she orchestrated a voluntary departure to escape further scrutiny. She lands in foreign territory, placing a vast ocean and an impenetrable diplomatic wall between herself and the North Carolina investigators. The diplomatic reality reveals that the United States and the nation of Moldova lack a formal, binding extradition treaty. This glaring international loophole complicates any future efforts to bring further charges against her if detectives uncover new evidence in the case. The prime suspect in the disappearance of a child vanishes into the shield of international law, protected by the very borders she crossed to build a life in America. Back in North Carolina, the legal battles surrounding the stepfather persist into the spring of the year 2026. Christopher Palmiter files a formal appeal attempting to overturn his conviction and clear his name from the permanent record. His appellate attorneys argue that the mandatory reporting law violates constitutional rights and assert that the state presented insufficient evidence to prove his guilt. In May of the year 2026, a panel of judges on the North Carolina Appeals Court reviews the heavy binders of trial transcripts. The appellate court issues a firm, binding ruling that rejects every claim presented by the defense and permanently upholds the felony conviction. While the courts finalize the paperwork, the Cornelius Police Department refuses to close the active investigation into the vanishing of the sixth grader. Command staff keep a dedicated tip line active at the precinct, monitoring incoming calls for any shred of actionable intelligence. Detectives partner with forensic artists to generate updated age-progressed photographs of the missing girl to account for the passage of time. The department releases a new portrait to the media in the year 2025 to mark her 14th birthday. Authorities construct a public birthday card drop box in the lobby of the police station for her 15th birthday in April of the year 2026. These actions serve as a constant visible reminder to the public that the search for the victim remains an active and urgent priority. The local community of Cornelius remains scarred by the betrayal of trust occurring within their affluent lakeside sanctuary. Neighbors in the Victoria Bay subdivision continue to organize evening vigils, gathering in the quiet cul-de-sacs under the glow of the streetlights. Residents light candles and stand shoulder to shoulder, fighting to ensure the memory of the 11-year-old girl is never erased from the public consciousness. The physical residence, once occupied by the family, stands as a dark monument to the unpunished deception that fractured the neighborhood. Law enforcement officials maintain a resolute public stance, standing before television cameras to project an image of unyielding determination. The sprawling network of federal agents and local detectives continues to monitor the digital trails and international movements connected to the family. Investigators trace old financial records and interview distant relatives, hoping to find the single thread that will unravel the complex web of lies. The authorities vow that the vast search operation will not cease until they uncover the final truth of what happened inside the walls of that house. The tragic saga of Medina Kojokari stands as a grim testament to the devastating power of silence and the extreme vulnerabilities of children hidden behind closed doors, until the day the earth reveals its secrets or a confession breaks the quiet. The young girl with the distinct braids remains lost to the shadows,